I have an echo.
Yeah.
All right, let me.
Might have to do audio through headphones.
Right. I ruined the QA. I'm sorry, guys.
Let me just disconnect that and see if that helps.
Okay.
Is that better?
Test. 1, 2. I can still hear myself.
Hello.
Testing.
Yes,
Good.
You can still hear.
We can hear you, but we hear us.
Oh, okay. So just then mute yourselves.
Aww.
For now, everybody mute themselves. If you have a question, or you can raise your hand, you can unmute yourself and say, "Hey, I got a question." All that good stuff. Does that work for everyone? Hey, what's up?
Would you like us to
What's up,
say we have a question first?
Sure. If you'd like. I mean, I've got the whole list of questions that were asked on the channel right here. I can kind of run through them.
I have a
question.
Yes.
What's your favorite color?
What's I didn't hear that.
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color? Green.
Yes.
Green.
Okay.
Yeah. I like seafoam green too, like that. See that? Seafoam green. Yeah, seafoam green. I like green. Yes. So we'll just I'll run through some of these questions that everybody put on the AMA questions list, and then as we go, if you guys have separate questions, feel free to just unmute. I don't want to be the the cop that unmutes you or whatever. So just do what you need to do. If you want to unmute and if you have a question, just fire away. But I'm going to start with one of the questions that was at the very bottom, and it was actually from our own DJ Ollie. Okay. He said, "I got one. What's the biggest childhood memory you have that made you go, yeah, this is what I'm going to do when I get older? Like, what really kicked off this is 100% where it's going, and I'm all for it for the moment." Okay, so when I was a kid, just so everybody knows, and this is sort of a base, there was no such thing as a video game producer. There was no such thing as video games when I was a kid. But when I was when I was in college, there was no such thing as a video game producer. It didn't exist because video games were made by one or two different people. One programmer that dealt with everything, or maybe two people that. So when it came to that stage, you really didn't need a producer or a manager to help that person or those people make that video game. So there was no such thing as a video game producer channel when I was in college. I graduated with a degree in business administration, and I did a bunch of sales to begin with, and then out of I knew Joel from Neversoft. He had been working on Neversoft for a while, and I was a gigantic fan of video games, period. So after, I knew him from, we were friends. I knew him from a friend of a friend. So my love of video games has been forever in my life. So when the opportunity arose and Joel called me and said, "Hey, we need somebody to help, we've got a couple different licenses," I kind of jumped in and that was when I was like, this is what I want to do. Oh my gosh, I can get into the video game industry and just make video games. So yeah, that's when the love of my life, which, one of them is video games, it kind of took hold, and I just jumped, right into it, left my old career, which was doing great. I had a house, everything was fine, but it didn't appease me. It didn't kind of fill what I needed to do. And so then, yeah, I switched careers and jumped into video games and became a producer and had no idea what I was doing. I was completely over my head. I knew what video games were from a player's perspective, but not at all from how to make them. I had no idea. Luckily, Joel took a chance on me and gave me the opportunity to help. And I think one of the big things that got me there was also I knew how to build computers, I knew how to run networks, I knew how to run. There wasn't a lot of the stuff that you guys are used to now on Google, where you get your Gmail and you have an email. That didn't exist back then. If you wanted an email address, you had to make your own mail server and run your own mail server. And if you wanted to do, everything was a different kind of NT server. So I knew how to run all of that stuff. So that was one of the pieces that you know that helped me along the way of learning, especially from like Scott Pease when he came into the program. He came into Neversoft, learning from those guys on exactly what it takes to produce a video game. So there are careers that are gonna be different in the next 10 years that are now, and you never know. And that's kind of, even though I've loved video games since I was a little kid, I had no idea I was going to be getting into video game production until Joel hit me up and said, "Hey, we've got these 2 licenses. One's a big license for Spider-Man, Marvel, and the other is this quote unquote small skateboarding game, and I think you could help on that skateboarding game." And I've always loved skateboarding, since I was a little kid, so it was kind of a no-brainer. And I just dedicated myself 100% into learning what it takes to make video games and work with teams and understand what different personalities need, from artists to programmers to designers. And I think a lot of my business experience in dealing with different types of people helped that, in bridging that gap between different people. And so, yeah, that's that question. Then I'm gonna kind of go to the top. And this is a big one. What did you do for each of the Tony games you worked on? What was your role as producer, and things you had to do for each game that stands out for you? So at the very beginning, I was the very first producer that Neversoft, quote unquote, producer that Neversoft hired. And that I was hired in December of '98. And my role was really helping fill in the gaps anywhere I could within IT, and getting people what they needed on their computers, to, I mean, really anything that we needed. And sometimes that meant, getting the Domino's order for everyone in the office, which I was happy, we were a very tight team. So it varied from time to time. But personally, my role as producer was to learn as much as I could from the experienced developers like Mick West, like Scott Pease, like Joel on the business side. Just kind of getting a flavor for and a experience from all of these different developers and how they did things, and to kind of figure out this new industry that was out there for me, and I wanted to be part of. So I really tried to put myself into and delve into every part of making video games there was. But I was also limited. I'm not a programmer, I'm not an artist, I'm not a 3D designer, but I love video games and I know how to get projects done. So that's kind of what my production experience and what I was able to get to. All right. So the next question: Were there? Were I was sorry. Why were tapes chosen as the collectibles in the first THPS game? It's so iconic and makes sense given the scene, but who came up with the idea? I mean, tapes were, some of these I'll bust through. Tapes were a generic thing. We all watched videotapes, so it was just kind of like a generic pickup, getting a tape. And one of the things with that is at lunch, we all used to watch skate tapes. I would go to all of the different skate shops and buy whatever skate tapes. We had a subscription to 411 video, and that came every month. And yeah, we as a development team, we definitely put ourselves and you know gave ourselves as much of a knowledge of the skate scene as we could. And back then, it was VHS tapes. So, all right. So then, Huckleberry Pie, can you clarify the whole mod chip situation back then when Tony shared early builds of the game to his friends for beta testing? Okay, some of this is a little on the legal edge, right? Because you had to buy very, very expensive Sony development kits in order to play early PS1 games. But Mick West, he was the programming lead, the brain behind Tony Hawk, as far as I'm concerned. He figured out a way to use Game Sharks and enable us to do development on the fly, so developers or designers and artists could make changes and then use that Game Shark on the fly to kind of get this um, speed up development, basically. On the other side of that then was being able to play the games and being able to play the burns, because a regular PlayStation could not take our burns that we made at the end of the week, and you couldn't put it in a regular PlayStation. So you had to get a chipped or modified PlayStation, of which we had different sources for those. And again, that's sort of the gray area of legality, but it allowed us to then send a build to Tony every week and get his feedback, which was super helpful, during the development. All right, so then there were a bunch of other questions like my favorite Tony Hawk level across all games. I love the warehouse. I mean, that's one of my faves. I also really like Rio. Rio was fun because it had all those robo lines that you could keep on going forever and ever and ever, which was fun. Um, and then what was the hardest Tony Hawk title that you and the team Neversoft had to develop? I think, and it wasn't that hard, but I think the toughest one was the second one, because once the first one came out, there was this huge bar that was set of what we needed to do. And fortunately for us, we had this big punch list of things we didn't get to do in the first one, so it enabled us to really nail down the things that we wanted in the second one. But that was a big thing. We just really, as at Neversoft, all our main, I think most of our main goal was to just make a game that we can continue making over and over again and keep making, because the video game industry is volatile. So that's kind of that was kind of that one. I think that was the hardest, is making sure that we stayed true to what we did in the first one, push it to the next level, and be able to bring on new people too. What would have been like if American Wasteland had about 6 more months of development, yeah, it would have been better. There was no more. We were not going to get no. We're never going to get more months of development. That wasn't going to happen. Once we had gotten on the schedule of every 9 months, every year coming out with a new one, it became extremely difficult to change that. You know, so there was nothing more that we could do. What kind of things does a producer do in the games industry? So there are a variety of things now that you can, you know, there are producers that focus on art, producers that focus on sound, there are producers that focus on all different kinds of areas of video games. Back in the day, you know, there were one or two producers that would be in charge of the entire project, you know, for maybe a team of 15 to 20 people. But now it's really dependent on the size of the project that you have. You know, and you know, production is really straightforward. It's fairly simple when you think about it, but when you get down to all the nitty gritty and day to day, it becomes complex. And it's really just making sure that the team has what they need to get their job done. You know, you lessen the friction on all sides of anything having to do with the development. You watch over the schedule, you watch over the budget, and you make decisions based on those two things, because sometimes based on schedule and budget, you might have been too aggressive to begin with. You have to cut things. And that happened all the time in the Tony Hawk project. You know, you have to cut things here and there to make sure that you make the schedule, because back then, you know, I didn't work under the conditions where I had the ability to update things over the internet. There wasn't really much patching. You had a disk, so you couldn't rely on that as a solution to fix your mistakes that you made or things that you caught later. So, you know, it was always in production, it was always a balance of what you have, what you need to get done for the game, and what the risk is in delaying, because there was no delay. When I worked at Neversoft, we never missed a date, period. You know, every year, one after another, it was set in stone, because Activision had marketing and, you know, they had advertising that was set up, and we didn't have the ability to just, oh, we'll hit that date and then we'll update stuff over the internet. Nope, that didn't exist. So all right, so can you guys clarify the whole CDR trafficking thing Tony did when he shared beta copies? I guess you consider that CDR trafficking. To us, it was getting feedback. You know, we got feedback from the pros, from Tony, from the two biggest people that we got feedback from over the years were Tony and Jamie. Jamie Thomas gave us a ton of really good feedback, especially the first couple years. So yeah, I don't really think there was much about that. How much money have you earned overall? Okay. So just like I would never ask any of you how much money you've earned overall, I'm not going to tell you how much money I've earned overall. I will just say that the Tony Hawk video game series was very good to all of us that worked on the game. Me specifically, because I was new to the industry, but there were a lot of people that that were, you know, they've been around the industry for a while, and it was good to them. But I'll say one and one only thing, that there are a lot of them that are still working today. So as much as it was you know, a great and amazing series, the developers were not compensated quite as much as I think they should have been, and not me personally, but yeah, there are a lot of guys that I know that are still out there working day to day in the video game industry, and with guys that have gray hair like I have, it's not as nice of an industry. So it gives and take, but yeah. At the time, it was great. We all did great. We had royalties in the game, which I don't think happens anymore. But it I think it could, compared to what it did for Activision and other people, I think the development team could have been benefited a little bit more. That's all I'll say. Was there any concepts for another 7th gen Tony Hawk game? Nah, I don't. No idea there. Why don't you do an 80s action film montage and get all the guys back together? I have no pull to do any of that. What's your favorite memory of working at and with a team at Neversoft? I think one of the biggest things is the camaraderie that we all had. I mean, I'm really good friends with a lot of the people that a lot of the guys that I worked with over the years. Still, we hang out, we get together, we talk on the phone. So that whole routine and that whole getting together with people was amazing. In working, we were in the trenches kind of working on this new thing, and it brought us all very close together. So it was amazing. It made friendships for life for all of us. So it was a great experience. Advice for level design for Cheapskate skating games. Not a level designer, so I'll leave that to John. John, hit up John, ask him. All right. What makes an amazing level in your view? Central Loop. I think what makes a really cool level, in my view, is something that I can relate to, like a skate park or an industrial area, or something that has really good flow from different sides of it. And the early games for me, the 1 and 2 really had a lot of that. So that kind of is what makes a great level for me. I know I'm different than a lot of the other, the really, I'm not getting 2 million, 3 million, 4 million combos. I like experiencing different areas and doing, like, just kind of like a skater would, doing a specific grind and a specific combo off of areas. So there's all kinds of levels that I love. Favorite color, green. I think I said that before. Tony Hawk game you're most proud of? I think it's 2. And one of the main reasons why Tony Hawk 2 I'm most proud of is when it came out, Tony Hawk 1 was the number 1 game on PlayStation Global, on PSX. It was the number 1 game. And then 2 came out and it became the number 1 game, and 1 was the number 2 game. So we kind of locked up 1 and 2, and it wasn't anything any of us on the team thought was going to happen. But when that happened, it was pretty rad. We were stoked. Any pros you wanted to get in the game but couldn't? I think I've said this before, but I really wanted to get Rob Dyrdek in the game for a little bit. Rob, and I met him at a bar in Los Angeles, and I had passed along the idea of doing a Rob and Big thing in our game, but Activision, it didn't get through. Was not kind of, I think it might have had to do with the big black thing. And it just never got through the approval process. So that never happened. And then shortly thereafter, their MTV show blew up, and the rest is history for Rob. Rob's done extremely well for himself. I'm going to skip through some of these. Which Tony Hawk game was your personal favorite? I think I said that. Tony 2, skating game. Are you still in touch with the pro skater community? How's Rodney for one? Yeah, I keep up with a few of them, and Rodney is definitely one of them. He and I, we message back and forth. We're due to go and have a lunch. I love Rodney. He's definitely one of my favorites, and yeah. As far as the other skaters, I message, with Cab and Muska and other guys, over the years to tell them about things and ask them about different opportunities and so forth. But nothing, not like day-to-day friends or any of that kind of stuff. So change any mistake. I changed a lot of mistakes. What, in your opinion, was the biggest cause for the closing in Eversoft? I wasn't there at the very end, and I could just imagine that it was a lot of different things that Activision had moved around here and there, and it caused the closure. What were your favorite songs from the THPS series? So many. I mean, literally, like, just too many, to from Ace of Spades to Superman to Police Truck to, there were so many great songs in the series that it's hard to say what was my favorite. But I would actually, wait, I take that back. It was my band, Dead End Road, Sin City in Tony Hawk's Underground 2. That was my favorite. What gameplay features would you like to add to Cheapskate that were never in a Tony Hawk game? You'll have to wait and see. How involved were pros in the game? There were a lot of them were involved in different areas. Tony was quite a bit involved in helping us with getting tricks nailed down, and Jamie, same thing. Muska gave us a bunch of different music, suggestions and things. So did Steve Caballero. So they were all involved in one way or another, and I will say for sure they were all involved in pushing the game and making sure the game got where it needed to be. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Since your departure, what skateboarding games have you enjoyed yourself, if any? I started playing a little bit of Skate 3. I liked it. It's just, my problem is all of my combo and all of my skate stuff is so dialed into the Tony Hawk controls. It makes it really hard for me. Were you or any close teammates involved in the Disney Extreme Skate Adventure? So I mean, only from the fact that I was helping them in getting code that we had from the Neversoft engine, and helping them and figuring out problems there might be. And that was about it. Let's see. How much has working on skateboarding titles, working on professional skateboarders, personally affected your relationship with skateboarding and skate culture? So, and then would you have continued to work in the game industry if Tony Hawk games didn't pan out? So as a kid growing up, and I'll age myself, growing up in the 70s and 80s, skateboarding for me, I skateboarded every day. I took a skateboard, as a form of transportation, one place or another. But skateboarding wasn't like what it is today. For me, it was mostly pushing and tic tacs and jumping off of curbs or little kickers. That's all it kind of was. So it always was something I loved, but it just, it wasn't like, I never thought of it as anything other than a different form of transportation if I didn't want to bring my bike somewhere. So I grew up with that, and the fact that when Joel gave me the opportunity to produce a skateboarding game, I was all in because I loved it. Skating was something I loved doing as a kid. even though it wasn't at the level of any of these guys, it was something that I appreciated, watched videos, all of that good stuff. So, what was your favorite video game of all time? I mean, it's kind of difficult. I break it down into different levels. If you're talking about arcade, Phoenix. When I was a kid, Phoenix was the game that was overall my favorite game. I loved playing it overall. I dumped more quarters into that machine than anything. But if you're talking about console games, I have to say Tony Hawk 2 because I spent so much time playing it, and then just really loving what we did with that game. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm picking one of the games that I worked on, but yeah. All right. What does a producer do? What do you have for upcoming indie devs who are working on independent games? A producer helps make sure that the development process moves as smoothly as possible as it can. And so that entails a lot of different things, and a lot of different things based on how many people are in the working on the project, how much money is involved in the project, yada yada yada. But you're a manager, you're a project manager, you are a therapist, you are a scheduler, you are an accountant when it comes to budgeting. You wear a lot of different hats that help, and your main goal is to make sure that the production of the video game that you're working on goes as smoothly as possible. So, you're not an artist, you're not a designer, you're not a programmer, yet you understand how video games are made and the process that they're made and what it takes to make them, and you understand how to schedule the people that are involved in it and how to budget the money that's allocated for it. That's it. If you need more information on that, just hit me up on my Discord. What's the relationship between you and John? I can't tell if you're brothers, friends, father, or son. John is my father. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're friends and we're coworkers, longtime coworkers. John, unmute. You started on Thug 2? Thug.
Thug 2, yeah. Thug had just shipped.
All right. John started on Thug 2. John was not only an amazing programmer, but he's an amazing skateboarder, and he was, he shredded and he knew what he was doing with our video game, and he was 1000% committed to making the greatest skateboard game that we could. And I was the same. That's all I wanted to do. So he and I have been friends since Thug 2, which is what, 2002? 2000 something like that. Three, yeah. So and it's kind of a unique situation because after I left the Tony Hawk project in 2006, there was talk about maybe Activision doing another game. John reached out to me, and I think that was like 2007, 8, and was like, "Hey, do you want to try to do another skateboard game?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was 100% in, but it didn't pan out. And so when April 1st will be the 1 year that we were on Steam, so it was probably a few months before that, and John reached out to me to, "Hey, you want to do this skateboarding game with me?" I was like, "Hell yeah." So yeah, I've been all in since then, and John and I are co-workers, really good friends, and we're we're close enough that we can tell each other and understand what each of our positives and negatives are, and talk through a lot of the differences that we have in the game. And John's a freaking workhorse when it comes to making a video game, as you guys can tell. So it's been rather easy for someone like me. Okay. The first one of a fiction character. This one is Screwlip. You had a long one. The first Tony Hawk was filled with fictional parks, but did it feature 2 real life locations? We always try to feature real life locations in the game whenever we could, or whenever they allowed us. Activision wasn't very keen on paying people for licensing their locations or their design or whatever for our game. So if that ever really became a thing, we had to just change. And one of them, for instance, was the Bank of America building in downtown LA. We had wanted to put that in because there was a huge skate spot, but it was also owned by, the design, everything was owned by Bank of America. They were not cool with it. It just became something that became too big of a thing. So anytime anything like that happened, we just changed it to something else. So yeah, there were a lot of different fictional places that we wanted to go, but it always seemed great to do realistic places. And we started the game, and a lot of us, even though I don't consider myself a skateboarder, but I loved that. I loved skateboarders, and I loved the pastime, and I loved the art. We tried to keep it true to that, so we wanted as many real locations as we could. But there were also, things that prevented us from getting places that we wanted. All right. Okay. What got me into bass? What was your first bass, and what was your favorite? This will be quick. My brother got me into bass. He came home from college. He was learning how to play guitar. He said, "You're gonna play bass." We went to a guitar store. I bought a bass. It was a really, really crappy Steinberger imitation bass, and that was sort of the beginning of my bass playing. After that, I got a white P bass, and then this black jazz bass, and then this Seafoam Green Custom P bass, and then what I love the most right now and playing is this Rickenbacker, which I love it because it was in Scott Pilgrim. It was that bass that Scott Pilgrim was playing, although it's a newer version. All right. Where do you see Cheapskate soundtracks going? I'm a big, I put a lot of different indie bands. I worked on and helped manage and produce the soundtracks in the Tony Hawk game. So I was always stoked on having independent bands bring their music to us, and we put it in the game, providing it met and just felt like something that skaters would skate to. And nowadays that's pretty much anything. So for now, anybody that wants to submit any indie band stuff that they own outright 100, they're not under a label and all that good stuff, just send an email to dematoproductions@gmail.com. Do I possibly see John and Ralph as playable characters? That's up to John. I would think not. What's your favorite bass brand? I love Fender. I love Rickenbacker. As producer for Cheapskate, what's your vision, and are you trying to see with the project? It's really, John and I want to make a game that people will love playing and will love adding to in the mod community. So the next big goal is to make it actually a game where you can play from start to finish. And then once we do that, I think expanding from that and doing different levels of different different levels of difficulty and all that good stuff is in there. What's your favorite color? I think I already did that. Any other? So many passion projects. Where would you see this game in the future? Okay. So, oh wait, before that, when is the boneless and no? John, when is boneless and no comply?
Well, if you don't use your hands, it's a no.
No. The question is, when is it coming into the game?
Oh. Yeah, that'd be cool. Up, jump, up, jump. Yeah, we'll get there eventually. We talked about this. It's a weird one. I think it's cool, but at the end of the day, when I was, I don't know, when I was playing the later games, I would just always pick bonus thing. Because it's like, when don't you want the extra?
No, I hate
design things that
Yeah, I always did the same. I never no complied. I always boneless. Let's see. I think where do you see the game? Oh, and then as far as the game in the future, you know, we want to kind of get it into a game again, so you can play from beginning to end, which it's not right now. It's more of a fun sandbox that people are playing and enjoying, and we love that. So once that's done, and we have all that completed, then, you know, there might be other platforms that this thing could definitely fit on, providing some other, you know, some publishers see it and see what we're doing and want to put it on, you know, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, anything with this, it's gonna work on. So, yeah, that's but then just continuing to keep iterating with the game, really bolstering the mod community, and then having more levels and character pieces and all that stuff be added in. That's where I think it's going. And there's some that are getting added right now. What's your favorite thing about game development? Create something from nothing, seeing others enjoy your work. My favorite thing about game development, I think, is seeing, like, yeah, seeing something come from nothing, and seeing both, and seeing people enjoy my work, or our work. I hate to say my work, because this project has been John. John has been the solo engine behind this whole thing. But, you know, I had my nephew came over to my house this weekend. He's or not this week, and he's a skateboarder, and I gave him my Steam Deck, and he played all kinds of skating games, and he was sitting there literally playing Cheapskate for at least an hour or so. And it was cool seeing someone who hasn't, you know, played our game really much, and that understands what we're trying to do, kind of get addicted to that. And that kind of, you know, that makes me get stoked. And, you know, and or even that last video, I think, from who was it, from Gollum, I can't remember who it was, where he saw that we have the challenge mode, and it was just like, oh my gosh, that it's already in there. Yeah, it's already in there. So those kind of things are awesome, I think, for me. All right, Screwlip John has a message for you. Why Godot?
Oh, it's free.
Boom, done. Yes. What's the golden rule? What's the golden rule of level of design, you would say, most important in relation to THPS style game? Flow. I mean, that's the number one rule, is flow. And I'm not talking flow as in everything has to link to everything and you have to have these robo combo lines and all that stuff. I think flow, and that's why I think a lot of the real skate parks were chosen, because if you went through the you know, if you went through the process of paying for a skate park, you are going to really pay attention to what the flow is and where people and skaters are going to flow through that skate park. So it's kind of a no-brainer to pick those because they have that. You have obviously in a skateboard game, you have to adjust that to make that flow work for your game. But that to me is the biggest thing, flow. All right, we kind of reached the end. What's my favorite skate spot in Cheapskate so far? I mean, I love the first level. And going through all. I mean, John kind of set up a really easy flow on the vert on when you go over to the one side, and there's a half pipe, and then a fun box with a rail, and then another half pipe, and I mean, that to me, I can sit there and do that forever. But I'll never get a 3 million point combo. So. All right, that is all I have. If you guys want to verbally ask any questions, anything I missed, please feel free.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
I think it was part of my actual question that I put in the QA. It was like was there ever a project that you worked on but it never saw the light of day, or like a project that was pitched and you were excited to work on it but it never saw the light of day?
Yeah, there have been a couple. I worked on a Deep Space. It was a project that I worked on with Supervillain Studios. It was a Microsoft project, and we were doing really great on it, and it was going along. And then it was just, sometimes the economics don't work out. The bean counters call it, pull the plug, and you're done. So yeah, there have been a couple different projects that I worked on, and then it was decided that AI would be a better choice than actual people, and the project was pulled. So yeah, there've been a few.
Oh God.
It it happens. It happens more than you think. I think the fact that my first project I ever worked on was Tony Hawk 1. That's a miracle. I mean, it's really a miracle that happens. It's and I'm forever grateful for all of the planets lining up that the first game I worked on became this series that turned into a $1 billion series. So yeah.
I'd like to ask, how did you get involved with
Yes.
Did
How
you
did
send
I-
out resumes for game companies, or did you kind of
Yes.
just fall into it? Because like my experience with Cheapskate is I had an interest in the THPS games, and she's like, I'm mute you, so I'm
Okay, so you have to understand 1990, 95, the late 1990s was a complete different time than it is now, right? First and foremost, no Google, no YouTube, no Instagram, no everything that you have right now, none of that, all right? So that being said, I did not apply to any of this. I knew Joel Jewett. We were friends. He was a friend of a friend, and I had gone on even different camping trips and different things with Joel. I had talked to him about Neversoft, his company, for at least 2 or 3 years. I established a relationship with him to the point that he knew that I was very, very interested in video games. But I was a sales guy. I did all kinds of different sales. I mean, shit, I worked for. If you want to look something up, there's some swag from one of the very first companies I worked for. CompuServe, right? So I knew about video games just from a user perspective because I played. I was a gigantic video game nerd. I loved playing all kinds of video games. I upgraded computers just to play video games. So when Joel got the call from Activision after Apocalypse, Activision or Joel Neversoft did a really great job in getting Apocalypse out of, out and in the public. And when they did that, Activision was like taking a really good look at Neversoft as somebody that they could rely on for other titles. And they offered them two different titles. One was a high expectation, high bar set for a Marvel licensed game, and that was Spider-Man. And the other was, hey, let's try this skateboarding game. And there wasn't that much pressure on it. It was a new thing. So the fact that the bar was so low, it helped, I think, a little bit. But all of us at Neversoft, even though we didn't have any interaction, and it was great that we didn't have any interaction with Activision, they weren't telling us what to do, we got to kind of make the game that we wanted. And that's what we did with the assistance and guidance of guys like Tony Hawk and Jamie Thomas. So how could you go wrong, Yeah. So that's kind of how it all became.
Like, and also I got a question. Sorry, but like you have a echo on your end. You have an echo.
I do.
If you mute when other people are talking, Ralph, that'll probably get rid of it.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me.
Okay, so my question is, why did like Neversoft, die as a company? Why did Neversoft, vanish and like what happened to it?
Yeah. So I wasn't there at the very end. Like I had already left 2006. Neversoft, I think, ended. I can't remember. I don't know the year, but I think there was just kind of, and this is what happens in video games in general, is that they kind of figure out what you can and what you can't do, and cut. And especially today, you can kind of see that there's people and different companies and different dev studios that are just kind of like, they're cut, and it just doesn't work. There are people from, quite a few people from Neversoft that ended up over at Infinity Ward, and other people did their own thing. But I wasn't there at that time, so I have no idea. But I can only imagine that it was an accounting decision. John, you were there.
I had actually already got a mute. You
Go ahead, John.
It'll echo unless you mute.
Oh shit, sorry.
Yeah, I was already gone, but it's worth noting that like Neversoft didn't so much get shut down as they merged with Infinity Ward is what happened. I mean, I'm sure there were. I mean, I have no idea if there were any layoffs like it had in that moment, but they merged with Infinity Ward is like what happened. So yeah, but yeah, so I mean, essentially Neversoft was over because it's like, guess what team you're working on this project now with this other team? Because Infinity Ward had split in half when Jason and Vince were ousted and half the team left, and then they created Respawn and all that, and EA picked them up. So yeah, there was half a team over there making Call of Duty stuff, and there was a whole bunch of programmers already, the entire network team already working from Neversoft, already working on Call of Duty anyway. So it just sort of made sense. So to me, it seemed like a kind of good exit. It was sort of like Joel and Scott were able to go okay and wrap up all the loose ends, and then the team just moved on to like a great franchise and had like, for the most part, most of the people who were part of that merge are still part of Infinity Ward, which is pretty cool. So. But it's unfortunate that, you know what I mean? There wasn't another IP, that there wasn't anything else, you know, that Activision wasn't there ready to go like, oh, well, here, make something new. Or we also have this other IP, you know, that it is a one-trick pony. When you look at it, all of Activision is essentially Call of Duty. But yeah, that's my soapbox.
Yeah, and just as a side note, Joel now owns all of the Neversoft like licensing and IP and all that, so you never know what might happen. All right.
Is it okay if I ask another one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just mute yourself so I don't hear myself double. Thank you, Ralph. Maybe a question for both John and you, but I would probably say like you saw, heard, played probably even like the THPS 1, 2, 3, and 4 remakes, probably, I suppose. And I think the general consensus about the community is that 1 and 2 was a phenomenal remake, right? A lot of people liked it, and I suppose you also had a tear in your eye when you saw it on the big screens getting announced and everything. And a lot of people dislike 3 and 4 because of some of its own problems. I just wanted to kind of get a insight. What do you guys both think when you saw that for the first time? When you no, when you saw it released?
So for me, 1 and 2, I mean, I really liked playing 1 and 2. It was fun. I thought it felt really close to, and if not exactly like what we had done back in the day. Yeah, it was great. 3 and 4 was a little less for me. I don't know what it was, and I don't know if it's because I'm used to Cheapskate, whatever, but it was a little on the too fast side for me, and I couldn't really get into it as much. I also didn't, you know, if you're gonna remake a game, I think you need to remake the game, and 4 had a different kind of game than 1, 2, and 3, and so that to me doesn't really say it was THPS 4. It was a little different. So, but I personally, I didn't enjoy or play 3 and 4 as much as I did 1 and 2, or even enjoy 1. I really thought 1 and 2 captured a lot of what we did back in the day.
Yeah, probably because 3 and 4 just felt like, I don't know, like a cheap copy of 1 and 2, I suppose would be the way I would describe it. It's there, it's cool that it exists, but it just didn't do as much like the originals did, or like, you know, compared to what 1 and 2 did, you know?
Yeah.
It's good, Ralph. I'm on the train right now, so I dropped my question in on the questions. Feel free to answer it.
So, what items do you have collected from your time at Neversoft? Also, how much of those decks were made? The one laid on the cupboard behind you. You're talking about that one. There weren't very many. Yeah, there weren't very many of that guy. I think John. I think you have one as well, right?
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a few different things. I've got the, you know, that hat. There's a hat up here. That one right there. That's a Tony Hawk 1 hat. That's a deck that Tony gave all of us that worked on the first game that says, you know, thanks for working on the game for us. I mean, I've got a few different things that Neversoft gave out. They're sort of near and dear to me. You know, it's definitely a you know, memory of what we did, and you know what we did as a team. So yeah.
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was curious.
John, you wanna? I mean, I don't think we'll do another one. I think what it did for us was great, which was it got the word out of what we are doing, and that's kind of what I expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just like why not try this also kind of thing. It was like we knew we didn't have anyone like specifically who we've worked with before who could just sort of come on and kind of take over some art stuff. And we knew there was both like people that we did know who we could kind of contract and then people who were starting to approach us in the community, but both of which we couldn't just ask for work for free. And so, we were like, well, if we could get a bit of money, maybe we could get, some art done. So we were like, why not try, Kickstarter and just set like a really low thing. Thing about Kickstarter, I would probably not do it again personally, is everything about Cheapskate is fun and it works when it's just kind of like light and easy, but getting funding, it starts to turn into like something more, especially a Kickstarter. And it's fine, but it's like every person who, pitches in $10 is suddenly now going to be applying pressure, for what they want out of this thing. And it's like, thanks for the $10, but pressure can stay away. Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't know. Yeah. So who knows if we do it again, but I think we would put the limit even lower or use that other service where you don't have to hit your target.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we would. I don't know. Like I did a Indiegogo for the film, the pretending I'm a Superman. And the best thing that ever happened from it was the marketing, the people that, once you get on that platform, it gets published on Google and then people go, "What? There's a new, there's a video, a documentary coming out of blah 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 blah." So it has dual kind of, even though you don't get even if you don't get the amount that you're trying to raise, you still get kind of recognition, which is, I think, is good. All right. Any other? Or are we gonna shut it down?
Was there any point you guys were considering the Cheapskate project?
Sorry, I didn't hear all that. Any point that we what?
Was there any point you guys were considering shutting down the Cheapskate project?
Shutting it down?
Yeah.
No. No, I mean, there's
From
no
the
reason.
get-go,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we for what we're doing on Steam, and John can jump in here as well. For what we're doing on Steam, there's nothing, we don't have really any expectations of making, or making money. As you guys know, if anybody comes to the Discord and they message me, and you can forward this to everybody. If they come to the Discord and they message me, I'll give them a free key to play the game. Like, it's not a goal of ours. I think what it gives both John and I is, John, I think, and he said it a few times to me and in other places, he's been the most happy when he's making a skateboarding game. I'm the same. In my career and in what I've done, the happiest I've ever been is when I've been making a skateboarding game. And so that is first and foremost, and then if something happens on the side of it, cool. We're both into Cheapskate for as long as we need to, and we think that eventually, we'll get to people that appreciate what we're doing. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to take we're never going to change what we're doing on Steam. It's always going to be $5, and actually right now. Whenever we do a 50%. Anytime we have anytime Steam has a sale, we're always 50% off. So you can get it for a whopping $250, and that's not going to change. So yeah, we're gonna keep on pushing forward for as long as we want to. Any other?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's great to hear, to be honest. Because even as I've always, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a game designer. You know, it's the dream kind of job. And I've never really made the step towards doing that. The best experience I've had would be with RPG Maker, you know, and that has a reputation for creating shitty games, basically, because it's so open to everybody. But just modding levels for Cheapskate and creating stuff through that has just been, it's just addicting. It's just fun, you know. Creating something from nothing, starting with a single footed block and turning that into a level that works. It's just been, it's a lot of fun, really. You know, I'm sure School of webinar, I feel safe. I'll always be grateful to Cheapskate Project for introducing me to that, because it'll eventually lead to making my own project through Dodo and hopefully achieving my dreams, you know.
Absolutely, and that's kind of that's where video games first started. Is exactly where I think we're starting to head in video games, which I think is awesome. Is independent developers, independent programmers, people doing their own projects that are valuable and that are fun and that don't require this gigantic marketing machine and publishing machine and all that stuff. And it's kind of coming around, but that's where I started with video games. There weren't these, just 100, 200, 300 people teams where you see credits of like 1,000 people on the credits. It was very, very small. The first Tony Hawk game I worked on, the actual people that worked on the game, there were about 13 of us. And that was fun. I mean, we had a great time, and that's kind of where I think we should go back to, is the indie spirit, as opposed to what's kind of ventured out, which is, hey, let's make this gigantic AI game. Go ahead. you know, that's
Could I ask another one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, that's a question for both you and John, and maybe it's a different question, a different kind of question, but hear me out. So, imagine it's the end of the world, right? You have a bunker, and you have like all the systems to play, whatever you need, right? Which 4 games and 2 movies would you take there into the shelter? Both of you. Or the rest of your lives, may I add?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Okay. 4 games. Damn. Okay. One of them has to be Phoenix on arcade. You guys have never played that, but for me, damn. John, jump in whenever you want.
Yeah, you're gonna have to mute.
Oh shit. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, something big that you could play for a long time. Oh, can you get something? Because you didn't say we couldn't. Oh, but that's such a risk. I'm gonna risk it all, even though I have the feeling that this could be a flop, and say GTA 6, and then, obviously
That's what I was thinking too. I was like 5 or 6, whatever the next one is, 6.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, but let me limit it to you.
That'll ensure that they'll never be an apocalypse, because that game's never going to come out. So there you go.
But let me just tell you, the world is ending tomorrow, so things we already have. I'm sorry, but you have to throw you a curveball.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Red Dead Redemption 2 or GTA 5. I haven't played like GTA 5 like thoroughly myself, but I've watched my nephew beat it multiple times. Every time he visits, he beats it. Like he starts a new career run and like beats the whole game during his visit. So it's been fun. But anyway, and I've seen that happen on multiple systems now. Yeah, for sure one of the Tony Hawk games when I'm trying to think which. That's the hard part. So that's why I would probably just say Rethawed. Like seriously. Um, so yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rethawed, some kind of other RPG. I'm not a big Zelda person, but some kind of good RPG with some good sort of just open world meandering. But I think I might be satisfied already with Red Dead Redemption there. It's a tough call. Maybe just because I just like slashers. Everyone's gonna laugh, but one of the Dynasty Warriors games or something. I can play mindless slashers forever.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah.
And then a shooter. Oh my god, because there wasn't a shooter in there. So I don't know. Oh my god, that's a tough one though. One shooter.
World War Z, dude.
No, I don't like. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but zombies. It'd probably be like COD 4 at the end of the day. Really, if you could play like
Damn.
multiplayer against like bots or something. And then movies. Oh my god, that's hard. Yeah, Repo Man and Blues Brothers probably, but I don't know.
I'm surprised nobody of you mentioned like Time Splitters or like GoldenEye or something like that. Like, okay, Call of Duty's cool, but come on.
Yeah, GoldenEye is a little bit too old.
Oh, sorry. My retro shooters are more like the boomer shooters, really. So it'd be like Descent, Quake, Doom, those. If I wanted something classic, it wouldn't be a console one for me. Otherwise, it'd be Halo if it was like earlier, like console shooter.
Yeah, I actually just started playing Arc Raiders, which looks pretty freaking awesome so far. But I would have to go with GTA, Red Dead. Those are kind of games that I've put way too many hours, and all the COD games I put way too many hours into. And just so you guys know that John is, if you play COD games, John's the guy that developed Kill Confirmed, that whole mode, Killed Confirmed. John created it. So yeah, those would probably be my games for sure. And then you said music?
Movies, like two movies.
Movies. Okay, so The Godfather, of course. That's got to be one. And then shit. That's a tough one after that. It's yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Tough one. So,
Barbie. Okay, cool. We'll give you the Barbie movie. You can watch.
Maybe Ferris Bueller's Day Off. No, that one's good. Oh, jeez. The you're talking about the cartoon thing, yeah? Maybe Animal Chin. That was a good one. Oh, you mean in the video game?
American Wasteland.
Absolutely. Yeah. For 100%. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, we stole a lot of, I mean, during that era, we were able to do a lot of different things that you probably couldn't do today. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Well, not really a question, but yeah, I'll just let it out. Okay. I'm not sure if you were familiar with the American Girl dolls or the books, but there's a store in Los Angeles. by the way. No, there's two characters in the American Girl stories where one of them is a skater. And the books, their backstory mentions that, I mean, they're fraternal twins. One is Isabel, the girly girl. The other one is Nikki, the tomboy. And the tomboy is a skater. And she mentions having played the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, where she plays as Elisa Steamer. I wish I could get that snippet from the book, but I don't know of any friends who have a copy of it or have a scan of it. But yeah, when I saw that being mentioned, when I saw that being mentioned, I was giddy enough that two of my interests basically intersect, and it basically shows that Tony Hawk's influence or Tony Hawk's reach in popular culture is, second to none, or basically that huge.
Most beloved athletes, people. Like, there aren't very many people in the world that would ever think anything negative when you say Tony Hawk. Like, it's he's a very wholesome brand. I mean, and it's kind of weird that a person's name is a brand, but that's what happens. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's what I think has helped him propel his career to where it is, too. So. All right. Any last questions, or I'm gonna kill this and I'm gonna go and have some dinner.
What are you gonna have for dinner?
I think a pizza. Pizza sounds good. Yeah. I make the best pizza, by the way. No one even asks about my Rickenbacker.
Maybe I'm gonna have
No one asks about the Rickenbacker at all. I'm very upset. It's okay.
We all asked about bases.
All right. Unless anybody has anything else, this was awesome. The next one in line that I told John already is John. And
I would have one final if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Maybe just mute yourself so I don't hear myself.
Sorry. Shit. I don't know why I gotta put that.
Maybe in the headphones next time. It's cool. Maybe a question again for both you and John. Is there any, like, I don't know, a prank or something that happened in the office that we don't know about, like that is so like burned into your memory that you would love to share with us? Is that you definitely have one? I can see it in your face.
I got a stupid story, and then Ralph can chime in. Yeah. This isn't even anything big. It just like sort of summarizes like daily life at Neversoft. I just remember working, and then suddenly there was like an announcement kind of over the PA phones, because that's how old it was. Like everyone had a phone at their desk, and it just said like, "Yo, Red Bull sent us a bunch of cases. They're in the kitchen," kind of thing. And it's like anywhere else that would just be like the end of it, right? It'd be like, cool, there's some Red Bulls in the kitchen. Cut to like not even 10 minutes later, okay? And there's two people doing headstands against a wall in the hallway trying to drink a Red Bull as fast as possible, and people throwing down $20 bills betting on like who's going to do it fastest. So like that was kind of just Neversoft, you know what I mean? Like that was, one thing leads to that, like, so that was just life there.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah, I mean, and then I think John failed to mention that we had the Red Bull girls that showed up with the backpacks, and they were handing out Red Bulls to everybody.
That was another time. That was awkward. Yeah.
That was awkward. Yes, yeah, that was awkward. Yeah.
The last time I had to deal with Red Bull was with me and my dad in 2016 when we were in an off-road ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of things that we did at Neversoft that you could never get away with doing today at all. Like in a corporate environment, it would never ever happen. It's from from inviting porn stars over to to the office to go and do whatever. Wait, and hang on a second. Let me see if I can share something. Allow. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes. To other different things that happen in the office. That's Jenna Jameson. That's Daisy. That was Daisy doing her video of grabbing a skateboard deck, and this shit would never have happened in any office today, and you couldn't get away with it, and so yeah.
Jenna is best known for being Candy Sucks in the GTA game.
I think Jenna's best known for a lot of other things, but yeah, okay. No, but back in the day, you were able to do things that are a lot, and there wasn't as much sensitivity to things as there is now. So, we didn't have HR. Yeah, go ahead.
Like one extreme example I could think of back in the 2000s was in the Scarface game, where there was a side quest. If I know this sounds a little sensitive. The objective is to weed out transgender prostitutes by kicking them in.
I've never heard of this. Yeah, I never heard of that one.
That one definitely never fly in this day and age.
No. Nope. All right. Hey, thanks everyone for jumping on. We'll do another one of these going forward. John and I totally appreciate all of you being involved in Cheapskate and helping us with the development. We are definitely very, very early still in development, but we're gonna get to a actual game that you can play from start to finish soon. So yeah, we appreciate all of you. We appreciate you telling people what we're doing. And once we have a game out there that is something that we really that we believe in, we'll start asking all of you to tell all of your friends. So, but yeah, next we'll probably do another one of these AMAs down the road. I think people want to ask John, like, hey, how the hell did you make Kill Confirmed?
John, why do I suck at Kill Confirm?
What's that?
Ask John, why do I suck at Kill Confirm?
Why do you suck at Kill Confirm? That sounds like a personal problem that we can talk offline.
Deal.
All right,
John's seen that Modern Warfare 2 video where the infamous no rushing level, but everyone else other than Macross and the crew are removed from the level. And then one guy commented, no Russian, but not schizophrenia.
Don't know.
It was like Makar was doing prank, and his cohorts were just playing along with the joke.
Yeah, I do not know.
It was funny.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Good seeing everyone. Take it easy.
Thanks for making the game that we love.
You need anything? Got any feedback? Just hit up me. Just Ralph D. I always talk to everyone. So, all right. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk soon.
Good night, everybody.